Brian, if you want to just give them a little bit about yourself and what your story is, that'd be great.
Hi, my name is Brian. I'm 42 years old. I'm a father of 2 daughters. I've been living on the streets here in Atlanta for about 3 weeks now. After getting a gout attack and losing my job and my place to live behind that. I would say that I'm not a great representative of the population here because most homeless people here have been homeless much longer and are much more cynical. I try to stay positive, but I mean there are positive people out here. Today here on Ponce de Leon off Freedom Avenue, a woman died, a homeless woman died, laying in the middle of a field on Freedom Parkway. And I want to dedicate my efforts to her.
What really caused you to be in the situation that you're in right now?
I was born poor in the mountains of North Carolina. My father was a cop until he took off on us whenever I was 15. My mother became a social worker, which doesn't make very much money. I mean, honestly, I've always been poor. When I was married, I had more money than I ever did before because my ex-wife worked for General Electric. But on top of that, I would definitely say my addictions. I have been through addiction treatment at St. Jude's treatment facility here in Atlanta. I completed 6 months for alcohol, meth. I mean, pretty much if you put it in front of me, there's a good chance I might do it. Last year, I overdosed on fentanyl and died. I woke up in Kennestone Hospital with the coroner standing over me. I've always just had a feeling like I want to get away from the way I feel. I think a lot of it has to do with childhood trauma. I was abused severely as a child, physically, emotionally, and verbally. I grew up in a very strict, fundamental, religious, God hates fags kind of environment, you know, and it was spare the rod, spoil the child, and I definitely, they didn't spare the rod with me.
So would you say because your family, would you say that because, you know, you went through everything that you went through in your family, you had such a hard upbringing and not really that much stability, that also affected you, like, in your relationships further down the line with you and your wife, and even potentially, like, you know, with other family members that could have been helping you in your situation? Do you feel like the reason that they didn't help or they're not contributing to investing in you and you getting better is because
they don't have it? My family, again, my mother was a social worker. She retired as a social worker. She doesn't have money to give me. My dad is still off chasing fucking whores his age. You know, I mean, just a piece of shit. Went from being a cop that beat my ass my entire childhood to being abandoning me and my brother. You know, and people wonder why I hate cops so much.
And you were working a steady job,
right? And I caught gout. I've had gout. Gout is a rheumatoid arthritis kind of condition, right. That where I can't process things like red meat or beer or chocolate, 100 different things like y'all do, and uric acid crystallizes in my blood. And when a gout attack happens, it's quite painful and immobilizing. I also have manic depression, PTSD. I mean, these are all contributing factors to me being homeless, for certain. Because, you know, if I got a job at Starbucks, it's much more likely that I would lose that job because of an interpersonal conflict than you would. Because I'm very sensitive and I'm very, very quick to anger.
Jealousy, envy, anger. There's so many different emotions that people bottle up inside themselves, and it only takes one event for them to really release all that anger. So it doesn't really, just because you have a mental illness and I'm just a regular person, doesn't mean that, like, I'm not trying to belittle your situation, but, like, I feel like it could happen to anybody. It could definitely happen to you, especially since you're more prone to it. Right. But, and that's really just the point that I'm trying to get across to people, is that if it can happen to anybody, we really need to all take a look at ourselves and figure out how we can get better and better each other, because that's the only way we really get better, is when we help each other. It's not about me all the time. It's not about all my feelings and my emotions and being a pleasure seeker and going through all these fucking highs to make yourself feel like you have values and that you're important and that your life is worth something. It's about helping other people. We celebrate Christmas every year, and what do we fucking do? Endorsing capitalism and fucking sit there and buy millions of fucking presents and all this fucking shit and do it for ourselves or buy it for each other, but we're not really going through in the name of God. I hope that y'all all get the real reason as to why this video is being made and not thinking that we're trying to profit off of anybody else's misfortunes.
And I definitely do not feel exploited or anything like that. I think this is something that has to be investigated and researched. I just wish that people could understand that not everybody has it like you, you know? It's real easy to say, well, whenever I'm sick, mom and dad take care of it. I just go to the doctor. When I'm sick, I have to go to the hospital every time because I don't have a doctor. I don't have a dentist.
Or family to take care of you.
Right, my family, I mean, I have emotional support from my mom and my kids and stuff, but, you know, my ex-wife isn't going to say, well, oh, you need your pancreas taken out. You know?
Let's go to the hospital and get you checked out.
And it wouldn't matter how much I did this. If I had a disease where I had to pay like cancer, I'm a dead man.
So how do you feel like people can help your situation?
I think that we have to get rid of for-profit systems such as pay-for-play medical care. We are one of the last industrialized, first world countries that still say we want to profit off that sick kid with cancer. Oh, I'm sorry, little Lulu. No, your pigtails fall off and you die. No, Tommy, you're good. You're good. We found a way to turn a profit on your chemo. You know, how sick are we? That's where we are, and that's what it is. You know, I think that the solution to homelessness is very simple. Housing. As we walk through here, we're going to pass by how many empty houses, how many empty buildings, you know, where people could live. And you wouldn't have people committing crimes to put themselves in a hotel or buy a tent. You wouldn't have people on the street like I am.
So why do you think it is that it's so hard for people to either get housing or people don't make housing readily available for everybody to have?
American culture from the get-go has been pull yourself by your own bootstraps kind of culture. It's been independent-minded, and when it comes to your freedom, like freedom of speech, that's really good. But one homeless person can bring down the quality of living for 100 people, and that's what we have here in Atlanta. I mean, there must be at least 10-15% of the population here is homeless. I mean, they're everywhere you look. Yeah. And it's just like, oh, there's another homeless person. No, it's a person who's experiencing homelessness. It's an unsheltered person. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you.
It's real easy to because I think these labels really do make a big difference. How we think about them,
So
how we quantify and qualify things through words is very important.
I agree with you. So what do you think we should do, or how do you think people should come together to provide more opportunities for you so that you can either have housing or a better livable situation so that you can provide for yourself?
I just think that every single person who is homeless should be given a home. A studio apartment, an old motel that's been, if people from India can come over here and do it, why can't our government? There's many other first-rate industrial class countries that have lower GDP, lower per capita income that say, hey, you're going through it right now? Come on in. You don't have to go through a church. You don't have to go through, here's your Bible and here's your meal and here's your bed, and Charles Stanley is making the rules. No. It should be a secular, one-size-fits-all. You can be any religion and go through this. And of course there should be rules. If you're out committing crimes and shit, hell no. Your home should be a jail. But for the average person, I don't think there should be a billionaire as long as there's a hungry child. Not a one.
I agree with you. And
Why the fuck does a person need a yacht when a child is hungry?
so for people that are addicts and that are struggling with their drug usage, how would you say we need to work with them in order for them to be able to keep their houses and not use their houses just for their addictions?
I think that Cobb County has a really good model with the BHCC, where it's open 24/7. If you're suffering a mental crisis or an addiction, you can come in 24/7 to the BHCC, and almost no one's rejected, and get first-rate care. St. Jude's is another good one. St. Jude's was really good. I mean, most people that go in there, addicted as they may be, shaking, they're put through detox. They're put through a 6-9 month program, and they come out better than they were. How many people actually stay clean? Maybe 5-10%.
I mean, that's better than nothing. At least they're doing something.
What's going to change that, I think, is decriminalizing addiction, making it to where if I walk in here and buy something, it's the same thing every time.
So do you think that would make it to where people would start doing it less or safer?
I think the stigma would go away. The idea that I have to hide to get high, or I have to run off and because that's where the problem is. It's not the actual getting high and a person having a buzz. I mean, we have that with alcohol, and we have drunken and driving, all that, and it's a problem. But when you have it with other drugs that are harder, and people are having to go to extraordinary lengths to get it and then hide it, I don't know. I think it makes a big difference there. Imagine I'm saying, okay, I'm addicted to heroin. I've done a lot today. Maybe the next one, I should go to the police station and do my next shot in case I overdose. Thank you.
Thank you.
That would make a tremendous difference on overdoses. If I could say, hey, officer, I'm going to shoot up now. And we go to a safe room or whatever, or we go to a hospital. You know what I'm saying? And yes, it would increase cost. But the cost to society in general right now of drug addiction and homelessness and incarceration is astronomical.
My only issue is that I feel like we need to make some type of, if we were going to open it up and allow it to be more acceptable for people to use, there has to be some type of safety there. And I feel like that is the most important part. The safety and the awareness that these people are doing drugs and that drugs are bad. My biggest question and concern is like, what do we do to make it so that people that are doing drugs, if they have to do drugs, are safe about it and it doesn't cause as many other users?
But Kev, do you think that a person who's strung out on heroin or strung out on crack is not aware of how bad it is for them?
No, I do.
I mean, they're perfectly aware, like, this is destroying my life. It's just, what is the other option that you're offering? You know what I'm saying? Because the other option for a crackhead is, like I said, rehab, jail. Because there's no, hey, if you'll get off crack, I'll give you $5,000, let you start your own business, give you a car. You know, there's no good other option right now. I think that we have to make basic needs more readily available. I see every night people in the back of this Dunkin' Donuts digging out donuts that are days old because that's how hungry they are. You know, I think that if I go to a public place that's open 24/7, a fire station, a cop, I should be like, hey, I'm hungry, officer. And no questions asked, not let me see your ID, no, here's a Lunchable. And people really do steal and rob people for food.
Yeah, we can sit here and talk about it.
In this country, the wealthiest country on earth.
Right.
And I think we throw away enough food to feed the hungry 10 times over. You know, without any type of personal responsibility from corporations. It's just easier to put it in the dumpster than to put it over here where these people can get it. And there are a lot of good companies like Jason's Deli every day at the Catholic Church up the road. You can and there's yesterday's Jason Delis, and they're all made and everything. Everything's just fine to eat, you know.
So they take it down to the Catholic church, and then they
in Jason Deli boxes.
That's
with a
awesome.
cookie.
That's really dope.
I think that more companies have to be socially and morally responsible in that way. Without that, you're looking at government having to do it, which will do it poorly. I mean, I think there's very few things the government doesn't do poorly.
I mean, well, that's always the caveat, is that you don't want to have government have too much position, but you also want them to be there to come in and step in when either the situation is too heavy or you need help. But my whole thing is like...
There are no homeless shelters that are run by the government. Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yes. Homeless shelters are run by non-profit organizations, churches. The Salvation Army is a whole organization that's, you know, faith-based. And I mean, there are many others like that, and I'm glad they do what they do, honestly, because no one else is doing it. But I mean, this should be the purview of the government to say, oh, you're strung out, oh, you're sobered up, you want to live a sober second chance?
Right.
You know, and I think we also have to remove the stigma of addiction to say, oh, you're addicted to crack? No problem. Let's see what we can do about that.
But here's an issue that I'm trying to get to that I feel like is a bigger issue that we have to address, and not that it's that the people are a problem, is that we're not addressing the problem that these people are having, and that's what's leading to it. And I feel like that's addiction and mental illness. So these people that are homeless, that don't have anywhere to go, that do get these houses that we're talking about, if this was a potential thing, now that they're in these houses, don't you agree that there should be something in place to help these people get off drugs and
Certainly.
either or help them with their mental issues so that they can be able to stay in these places? Because just because we provide you with something doesn't mean that you will either take care of it or be able to stay in it.
I think it was John Maynard Keynes that said incentivizing is the key to all marketing, to all sales. Is you have to make it to where the option being given is better than the option that they have, or at least competitive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, to say, there's been states that say, well, we're going to drug test you, and if you fail, we're not going to give you your food stamps.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, or oh, you're a convicted felon? Well, fuck you, you're not getting any housing. But what does that convicted felon do? Comes to your house. I mean, these types of policies that are holier than thou are what has to go.
So
We have to be more empathetic. We have to be more practical, really.